Start. Okay. Okay. So may I have your all attendance, please? So my name is I just want to introduce myself first of all, so then we the program that we have for the PIDs. So myself is Nandan, and I have overall 10 years of experience into it. And on ServiceNow side, I'm actually having more than 7 years of experience. So I've trained so many people here within the tech group, online and offline batches, even for the corporate batches as well. Okay. So today, actually, we are going to discuss the ITOM related program. That is, we have actually what we did. The ITOM can be, as you have seen, like ITSM and all other modules. Generally, to learn that, you require a specific time. Before that, let's try to ask, like, all of you are Telugu or anybody who's listening? Everybody's Telugu, right? Okay. So, I just wanted to tell you one thing is that so we have designed this program for only 5 days as of now. As I was telling you before, that we're trying to make sure we'll give you the what at most components that we can deliver. Or we try to give you the same thing. Okay. So well let's start it. Let's get started with the item part. So generally, me చూసారు ఇప్పటివరకే you have done with all the ITSM development and concepts and CSM and all, right? So why ITOM is required in organizations generally? మీకు తెలిసిన ప్రకారం why ITOM is required general? మనకి ITOM అనే మాడ్యూల్ ఎందుకు ఉండాలి? Why ITOM is required? Manage IT operation. So when you say manage IT operation, what kind of an operations, right? What kind of an operations? What kind of operations? Operations means what generally? You mean service? What is ITSM? ITSM, everybody tells. Everybody knows. It's a definition. It's a standard. It's abbreviation, right? So what is ITSM for you? Service. What are the services? That's what I wanted to know. Incident. Then problems are that comes into the later time, right? Services. What kind of services? Ticket raising, and what else you can do with ITSM? If that is only incident and task and all, then they have so many other applications. Various applications for Nagada. Why they have to use ServiceNow ITSM? Provide the similar. Okay. Fine. So IT services management లో మీరు ఏంటంటే సర్వీసెస్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ ఇక్కడ మనకి సర్వీసెస్ చూస్తున్నారు. సర్వీస్ ఇట్ కెన్ బి అ యూజర్. ఇప్పుడు ఒక యూజర్ ఉన్నాడు అనుకోండి. I wanted a service. That means let's say I'm within your internal, because ITSM always talks about internal employees, internal customers, or internal like users simply. Not a customer, but internal user. So IT organization, let's say మీరు Infosys కానీ TCS కానీ వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారు అనుకోండి. You have your own laptop. మీకు ఒక asset ఇస్తా to work upon, right? To deliver your projects and all. So if you have any issues with that laptops, how do you reach out to your IT department? How do you reach out to your IT department? Huh? So you raise a ticket. And not only that, let's say if you wanted to request some product. So how do you should have some centralized platform which can handle all these and which can manage all the life cycles of the each concept, right? So that's where the ITSM comes into the picture. Okay. So then ITOM to run those ITSM or HRSD or whatever the modules that we have. So to run this ITOM is actually kind of a mandatory. Mostly even 99% you have to use CMDB, like ITOM and all, to make sure that the service is delivered to the respective user or customer, based upon the different module. మీరు సో ITSM నుంచి మాట్లాడుతున్నట్టయితే సో ఇంటర్నల్ ఎంప్లాయీస్ వస్తారు, యూజర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉంటారు. యు ఆర్ ద యూజర్, ఎండ్ యూజర్ ఫర్ ద ITS కాన్సెప్ట్. మీరు CSM యూజ్ చేస్తున్నట్టయితే ఎండ్ కస్టమర్ వస్తారు, either it is a B2B or a B2C customer. Am I right? B2B or B2C అంటే విత్ ఇన్ ద మీకు వెండర్స్ ఉన్నారనుకోండి. మీరు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక ప్రోడక్ట్ ఈ ల్యాప్టాప్ ఉందనుకోండి. ఈ ల్యాప్టాప్ డైరెక్ట్గా కస్టమర్ మీరు కన్జ్యూమ్ డైరెక్ట్గా మీరు పోర్టల్ నుంచి తీసుకున్నారు అనుకో, లేదా అమెజాన్ నుంచో లేకపోతే ఫ్లిప్కార్ట్ నుంచో అంటే యూ పర్చేస్డ్ ఇట్. సో వాట్ యూ ఆర్ అన్ ఎండ్ కస్టమర్ డైరెక్ట్లీ, యూఆర్ నాట్ పర్చేసింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎనీ వెండర్ ఆర్ సంథింగ్. మీరు అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి ఒక ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ క్రోమా కానీ ఏదైనా వేరే దగ్గర నుంచి వెళ్ళారనుకో, సో దట్స్ అ వెండర్ ఫర్ దెమ్. యాసెస్ అనే ఒక ల్యాప్టాప్ లేదా హెచ్పి అనే ఒక ల్యాప్టాప్కి క్రోమా వాడు ఒక వెండర్ లా. సో B2B, the business to business, and B2C, which is directly to the consumers. We are the consumers. We have different laptops and then we are the consumers, right? So to manage this, you have a CS, right? So but this asset, like the issues వచ్చినాయి. So I'm having an issue, right? So ఈ ల్యాప్టాప్ ఇష్యూ వచ్చినప్పుడు నేను ఏం చేస్తాను, IT డిపార్ట్మెంట్కి I will raise a ticket. So I'm not able to log in, or maybe some blank page is coming. I'm not able to move forward, or whatever the reason that you are getting, right? So in case if this asset details is not there mentioned in their inventory, for suppose, అప్పుడు ఏమవుద్ది? అర్థం కాలేదు. Can you speak louder? I mean, we are not going to that aspect as of now. Internally, the laptop issue వచ్చింది, you raised a ticket to your IT department. It gets assigned automatically to your IT department, right? You have defined assignment rules, like whatever that it gets assigned to a specific team. IT department team, it got assigned. So then they have to check. So if they don't have your asset details or your configuration item details, then what will happen? They won't be able to troubleshoot. Okay. So do you think only the this model number is enough to troubleshoot? What else other required? What else other attributes, other information that is required? What is the hardware? What is the CPU? That is, what are the different software that are running on that particular, and what is the version of that software? Whether it is licensed or not, the license is expired or not, whether that is in warranty or not. So this much of information is required for the technician to troubleshoot it, right? So that why we have to maintain that in the CMDB generally. So CMDB, that we will come to know, like we will discuss that. The CMDB, so we will come to know. So to have this entire information, your CMDB, that's where ITOM comes into the picture, okay? So ITOM operations, it will help you define your CMDB up to date, and to make sure your services gets delivered in time and with our less time. Let's say technician need not to spend much time. If he doesn't have, or if he or she who works on that ticket doesn't have much information, so how can they troubleshoot, right? It is not possible. In that case, they have to gather the information from different systems, or whoever the owner of that particular CI, CI in the sense like a product, who is the owner of it, where it got purchased from, when it got purchased, what are the software that are running on that particular device and all. So that everything he or she has to gather the information before troubleshoot, or give you the correct resolution. Am I right or not? Right? So to have that entire information, so how you can bring the data. So that's where the ITOM comes into the picture. So we have a different concepts within the ITOM, so that we are going to discuss. So for this, the entire foundation of the ITOM is based on the CMDB module. So we are going to discuss the CMDB first. I wanted you to understand it better, so that how the CMDB works, and how it helps the ITSM and all other process to even for the service delivery, or maybe for the consumers and all. The customer raises request for the CSM. I think you guys told me that just now we complained with the CSM. Let's say I have an issue with this AC. I have raised a complaint. Then what will happen? This entire information has to be there in that asset has to be there in their system. That means the information has to be there. Otherwise, how can you select it, and how can you raise that concern? How do you mention it, that information, right? You cannot directly mention that this AC, the LG AC is 2 ton watt 1.2. It's not going to work. They need entire model number, entire information. When it got purchased, what was the contract? Okay, what is the warranty? Everything they require. So to update that, generally we have to have a CMDB, the centralized database. We have it. Okay, so we're going to discuss that. So first of all, the ITOM concept, IT operations management. What are the different things that comes under the ITOM that we are going to discuss? Do we have any cluster or something? Personally, won't have a. Yeah. Yeah. I am. So ITOM actually, IT operations management. Okay. And these have a three different concepts. I mean, segregated the item. They have a three components. Okay. They have so many components, but they have actually categorized into three components. Okay. The first one is called item visibility. Okay. And second one is called item health. Okay. Second one is called item health. And third one is called item optimization. Generally, you get to see these two a lot, item visibility and health. So what is visibility mean? Visibility, you know, what is visibility? Yeah. Sorry? Not the interface, but you have simply, I mean, to have that ability to see the entire network or something. So here we have a different product that comes into the picture, discovery, everything under discovery, service mapping, and all the things comes into the picture in the item visibility part. Okay, discovery, what all comes into here? Discovery, service mapping, okay, and you'll have other concept is called. I think that we have main two concepts with our discovery and service mapping. In the item health, you have a CMDB health and event management. Okay, in the optimization, you have a cloud optimizations. Okay, mainly this. Okay, so we are actually not deeply discussing all these things, but we are trying to give you or trying to give the overview of all this. Okay, item visibility and item health and item optimizations. Within that, you have a discovery, service mapping, and all of this. And item you have CMDB health and event management now. And item optimization, let's say cloud optimization, how you can bring the data from the different cloud sources and all, now to optimize that within your service now. So that's where these are the three different things comes into the picture. But all this discovery and service mapping, all this actually are based upon the CMDB. The foundation is the CMDB, not only for the ITOM, even for the ITSM as well. Okay. So what is exactly a CMDB? Can anybody tell me what is CMDB? Mhm. CMDB, what it stands for? Configuration Management Database. Okay. It's ServiceNow owns centralized database. Okay. You have a different inventory tools or different databases. That is different. Okay. ServiceNow has its own centralized database called CMDB, which will help us to, create, manage entire your IT infrastructure. Create and manage entire your IT infrastructure. IT infrastructure in the sense what are the things, what are the IT components that generally comes into the picture? It can be any hardware, logical, tangible or intangible. Tangible in the sense whatever I can touch, I can. Intangible in the sense like which I cannot touch. Let's say software for suppose, laptops that I can touch. Okay, everything that comes under the you have a different classes over there within the CMDB and different tables. Okay, that will help us to store the data within the CMDB. So what is this central repository? You can call it as central repository or a central database, centralized database that helps you to keep a track of your entire IT infrastructure. Infrastructure in the sense can be a server, your load balances of your organization or your routers, okay, and all your PCs, okay, and or software applications that are running on your software, servers, all these things comes under the CMDB itself, and how they are related, how they are related to each other, how they are connected to each other. So everything that is there in the CMDB part. Okay. So here generally we have our three base tables actually. Okay, three base tables of CMDB. What are those? Is the first one is base configuration item. It's called CMDB. Okay, and the second one is configuration item. This CMDB underscore CR. The third one is called CI relationship, which is called CMDB underscore rel underscore CR. Okay, this is a base configuration item. Generally, you see a task table, right? Right? What is that task table? It's a base table. So base table, base configuration item. Okay, and then you have a configuration item. Okay, and then you have a CA relationship table. So this is where you generally store everything. And this is a parent class. We call it as a classes within the CMDB, not as a table. Okay, each is nothing but the entity, like kind of a entity object or something. It represents an object, right? So database table. Okay, we call it as a classes within the CMDB. So we have a base configuration item which is CMDB, and we have a configuration item which is CMDB underscore CI, and CI relationship where all the relationship between a CI will be stored in the CI relationship table. Okay, and the types of relationship will be stored in the CMDB rel underscore type, which is not comes under the base tables. Whenever you if there's somebody asks like, what are the core tables of CMDB or what are the base tables of CMDB, then first three comes into the picture. Okay, this is where the relationship type of that CIs, how they are connected, whether that is depends on a other application, whether they are connect, or whether this contains them within the server. So all these kind of a thing will be stored within the CMDB underscore rel underscore type, and you can make a use of existing relationship types, or else you can create a new relationship type. Okay. This is you can configure as per your requirement or as per your thing. Okay. As of now. So these are the things that are actually main. So before that, before we dig deep into all these things, just wanted to show what are the we are going to cover as part of this program. So here is actually a 5-day program that we have designed. So the first thing is house introduction to the ITOM, and we are going to cover why the ITOM is required, why those are different from other modules, and CMDB and respective life cycle classes, relationships, dependency mappings, and all, and what are the health CMDB health and governance rules that we have within the CMDB, and then after you know just a live demo is nothing, a lab is nothing, but I'll ask you to give, I'll ask you to, design few or create few or, data relationships or something, and, check how they are connected and what is there in the dependency view and all. And you have a discovery fundamentals. What is the discovery architecture that we have? How what is actually the discovery and what is the discovery architecture and what is the flow of that? And all best practices. What are the stages of the discovery and the credentials discovery and all these things. And then you have a patterns. There are probes and sensors. Generally, we use to collect the data from a different based on the network and type of the IP address and all. So that we are going to discuss. Then CSDM model that comes under the CMDB only, but which actually relates to the CS service mapping mostly because the services that are client facing or resource facing. Client facing in the sense, let's say for suppose you have a online banking services there that is that is actually who business users can use it. Let's say you are the one or you can use the online banking. So there are two different services and it has a different offerings like either mobile banking or internet banking. Okay, so likewise, you can have a different. This is a bit of a tricky one. CSDM to understand it better, it takes a very good amount of time to understand the CSDM model. And you have a service mapping, how the business services, technical services, and what are the underlying infrastructure within the CMDB. Okay, and then you have a event management. How event management will help us maintain the health of the CMDB. That means let's say there are some servers that are we can monitor the servers or there are some fault management applications will be there that generally tracks or monitoring tools we call it as, right. So what they do is they will monitor the network, entire network. So whenever there is an issue, they simply alert the service node system as in a raw event. So once that is happened, how you convert that into actionable incident so that you can create it in the ITSM process. Okay, that's how the ITSM. So you actually discover the network, you populate the CMDB, and if something goes down, you there is a network monitoring tool or some discovery or whatever you have that will identify the issue and it try to create a ticket. All that configurations that you have to take care. So generally the ITOM will have a separate developers and ITSM separate developers, and nobody like one can not do everything. That is not possible, even if you're big organizations and all. Each module has a different set of people. Even for the ITOM, even within the ITOM, the CMDB separate, uh, separate, what we call separate team, and ITOM is separate team. Event management is completely a separate team. Depends upon the project and the length of the project, length of the, like how big the project is. Okay, so దానిపైన depend అయి ఉంటుంది. So here, this is what we are going to cover. So before we proceed, do you have any questions? Then we can take it forward. Any questions that you have? Okay, fine. So I just wanted to tell you, like CMDB, right? CMD, centralized database that we said. So what is CMDB is centralized database where we can store all IT info. It can be either server, okay, your anything. You can either it the physical or a logical component. There are few things that comes into a different, which is assets and all. Asset is different. Okay, asset is different. Don't get confused. CI is different, asset is different. We will discuss that what is CI and what is asset and how they are different from each other. So generally, when we talk about the CMDB, mostly we talk about the CI part. So the CMDB is nothing but the collection of tables or database. Consider. Okay. So how everything will be stored in the CMDB? Everything is in the service now. It actually works. The high architecture of the service now is nothing but tables itself. Like the data, everything is stored in the tables. Even if it is a table that you created a custom, that has to be stored in somewhere in a table called sys underscore db underscore also. Right? And let's say if you created a field, that has to be stored in the sys underscore dictionary table. Okay. Everything is interrelated and everything is stored in the tables only. So likewise, we have a CMDB, which is centralized database. And here we have a different tables. The main core tables that we have discussed is configuration item and sorry, base configuration item and configuration item and the CA relationships. So base configuration item is same as your task table in your ITSM process. So task table, what is the significance of task, which is called base table? It is not a core table. What is it's the base table? What is the difference between a base and core table? Mhm. Okay. What is the core table then? Basic question they'll ask in an interview. What is the difference? What are the base and core tables of ServiceNow? What is the difference?
It's tables for all the one.
Mhm.
Tables are only for specified modules.
Yeah, but not that exactly. But yeah.
Specific task will be all
Mm-hmm.
with the idea ideas that like a specific tables for each event.
Mm-hmm.
Getting
Mm-hmm. Okay. So base table. కనబడుతుందా అండి? Sorry, let me. Okay. So base table. So core table. Let's discuss core table. Core table అంటే ఏం లేదు. So whatever the tables that by defaultly within the ServiceNow instance, you know, we call it as a core tables. Okay. And that is comes with another concept called custom table as. Okay. So core table is something by defaultly within the ServiceNow, what are the tables? We have it by default in the system called core tables. What is base table? Base table is something that is parent for all. Okay, that is parent for all, but it is not parent. It is not extended from any other parent. అర్థమవుతుందా? అది పేరెంట్ అన్నిటికీ అది పేరెంట్, but it is not extended from any other parent. Can you tell me task extended from any other table? No. The same as a base configuration item. Base configuration item is a parent class, parent, which is topmost parent, like apex parent or something. It doesn't have any, I mean, it is not extended from any other table. Okay. So core table can be a parent table. That is different concept. Okay. Let's say incident is there and you have incident tasks. Which is a parent? Incident is a parent for the incident task, but you call it as a core table. That is different concept. But the incident is got extended from the task table now, right? మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది కదా, ఇన్సిడెంట్ అనేది మీకు టాస్క్ టేబుల్ ఎక్స్టెండ్ అయింది, బట్ టాస్క్ టేబుల్ మాత్రం దేని నుంచి ఎక్స్టెండ్ అవ్వలేదు. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ బేస్ టేబుల్. ఈవెన్ బేస్ క్లాస్, బేస్ క్లాస్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్, సో వి రిఫర్ ఇట్ యాజ్ అ క్లాసెస్ విత్ ఇన్ ద సిఎండిబి. మీరు బై డిఫాల్ట్ గా మీరు కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ అ టేబుల్. మీరు జనరల్ గా ప్లాట్ఫామ్ లో అయితే, సిఎండిబిలో అయితే వి కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ అ క్లాస్. ఓకే. సో బేస్ క్లాస్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ బేస్ కన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఐటమ్, and parent class is nothing but CMDB underscore CI, which is configuration item. Okay. And how? But to store this entire CMDB, only the configuration item is good enough to store the entire IT infrastructure? Do you think? No, we have to have so many tables inside it, right? Let's say నాకు సర్వర్ ఉంది, విండోస్ అప్లికేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. లెట్స్ సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మైక్రోసాఫ్ట్ 365 కావచ్చు. ఓకే. అండ్ it can be your software, Windows 11 కావచ్చు, అప్లికేషన్ ఆర్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ అప్లికేషన్స్ కావచ్చు, లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ కావచ్చు, రౌటర్స్ కావచ్చు, స్విచెస్ కావచ్చు. ఇట్ కెన్ బి ఎనీథింగ్, ఎనీ ఐటీ నెట్వర్క్ కాంపోనెంట్స్. Everything you have to store it. You cannot store it everything in the configuration item table, right? How do you navigate? Let's say incident key we have separate. Why can't we put it everything into the task table? Why we have an incident problem chain separately? Okay. Those have a different purposes. Incident is for the, you can restore the whatever the service that you want quickly, so you will use the incident. Problem is for the root cause, finding the root cause analysis of the issue that is recurring, whatever the recurring issue. If you wanted to find the root cause analysis, that's where you use the problem. And change request is to, keep a track of all the organizational changes, whatever it is. Change something, it has been patched to any server, or you have updated your software to system. Let's say even your ServiceNow upgrades also can be captured within the ServiceNow. Sorry, in the change request. Okay, may upgrades होते हैं क्या? Okay, what is the current version that we have? Before that? Good. Before that? Huh? So everything is alphabetically, mentioned. So make sure that you know all details, because in the interviews people will ask questions from, let's say if you have put 4 years or 5 years, they definitely ask you a question from which specific version you started your ServiceNow journey from. Okay, If you're not able to answer it, just simply say you are a fake fan. Consider, okay? What is the current version? Doesn't mean that you have to work on the current version. Australia means everybody doesn't directly, as soon as it is released, nobody will directly go to the Australia, all the organizations. Okay? They have their feasibility. They can skip one version or a couple of versions. That will come into the later. We will discuss this later. But now the CMDB's part is base tables, you understand, right? Base tables that are a parent for all of them, but it is not extended from any other parent. Okay, any other class or any other table. That is called base class or a base table. And the core tables are nothing but by default, the tables which are there in the ServiceNow instance is called core table. Even the incident, problem, change request, incident, task, everything comes under the core table itself. Custom table is nothing but what? That a user or admin create. Admin creates a custom table, so that is called custom table. Okay. So now in the CMDB, so in the CMDB point of view, base CMDB, which is base configuration item, is actually called as a base table or base class, and CMDB underscore CI. All these core table is also called as CMDB, CMDB CI, CMDB rel CI. Everything comes under the core tables also. Okay. So then CMDB CI is a parent. Okay. And custom table is a that comes with that admin created. What is a backend generally in the name that starts with U underscore. That you guys. Okay. Even in the CMDB also starts with U underscore. But U underscore CMDB underscore CI underscore, then whatever you created, that will come. Okay. Let's say I wanted to create a rack table. Let's say server is there. Let's say server, entire server, let's say server is there in your data center. Each company has their own data centers within their buildings. Am I right? Have you ever noticed? If you're going to any organizations, maybe anything, they're using any application, even banking or anything, they have their own server room. Okay, where they everything will be there in the, okay, they have their own servers in big organizations like any like multinational companies, or those, how they manage, they have big data centers, and something server is down, how they can find out where exactly the server is located. Okay, how do you find out? Well, name, yeah, configuration item only, but how do you find out? Let's say I say, like, there's some Windows server is there. Okay, the service, you have model number and everything. How do you identify whether exactly where exactly that particular CI or like server is located? Okay, so the entire hierarchy generally you will build it in the CMDB. Okay, if server is goes down, then there is a location that is the CI is associated with. There you'll have a each and every things, or you have a racks, and you build a relationship where exactly that is located. Whether this is in this building, and within that it is in first floor or second floor. Within that, which room, and within the which room, how many racks are there? Within the room, within the rack, let's say consider that there is a library. లైబ్రరీ మీకు అందరూ వెళ్ళుంటారు కదా. లైబ్రరీలో ఎలా మీకు కావాల్సిందంటే ప్రతి కేటగిరీ ఒక ర్యాక్ ఉంటుంది. సో ఇఫ్ యూ వాంటెడ్ టు గో అండ్ ఫైండ్ వన్ డివోషనల్ బుక్ ఏదైనా తీసుకోవాలనుకున్నారు అనుకోండి, హౌ డు యూ ఇంత లైబ్రరీలో ఎక్కడ ఉందని తెలుస్తుంది మీకు? యూ హ్యావ్ టు హ్యావ్ సమ్ లొకేషన్. సో దేర్ యూ హ్యావ్ సెక్షన్స్, అంటే డిఫరెంట్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ రొమాంటిక్ కానీ, లేకపోతే డివోషనల్ కానీ, డిఫరెంట్ కేటగిరీలో బుక్స్ ఉంటాయి. దెన్ యూ హ్యావ్ డిఫరెంట్ ర్యాక్స్, అండర్లో షెల్ఫ్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఆ ర్యాక్ లో మళ్ళీ షెల్ఫ్స్, ఆ షెల్ఫ్ లో ఆ బుక్ ప్లేస్ అయి ఉంటుంది. రైట్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ హ్యాస్ టు బి మెయింటైన్ ద సేమ్ వే హియర్. సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్, ఆ హైరార్కీ అనేది మనం CMDB లో బిల్డ్ చేస్తాం. సో డిస్కవరీ ఆటోమేట్స్ దట్ ప్రాసెస్, creates that entire hierarchy within the CMD. The discovery is the automated process. Okay. Now, so how do you? Now I wanted to create a record within the CMD. Okay, I wanted to create a record. Okay, record in the sense it can be any record about any my laptop or anything. So that is called configuration item with CI record. What does that means? CI means it's a record that actually there is a centralized database that represents any component of your IT infrastructure. Sorry for that. It, it represents, IT component. It can be a server or it can be anything. present one specific component that needs to be managed to deliver a service. Okay, మీకు ఇప్పుడు అన్ని అప్లికేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి that has to run on some servers. Okay, the databases, right, that has to be maintained clearly. If that server is down, how can you access the applications? ఓకే, లెట్స్ సే మీరు అప్లికేషన్ వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారు అనుకోండి, ఆన్ బోర్డింగ్ కానీ లేకపోతే మీ పేరోల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ చూసుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నారు, అండ్ మీ లీవ్ ఆప్షన్స్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ చూసుకున్నారు, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ హ్యాస్ అ సపరేట్ అప్లికేషన్. And that applications are running on a specific host or like servers and all. If server is down, how can you access that application? It is not possible, right? So that's where actually మనకి ఈ CMDB లో hierarchy అనేది build చేసుకుంటే it is easy to understand. You can create a tickets that where you are having an issue. Let's say I'm not able to access the payroll application, whatever. Let's say ADP కానీ we can have different payroll applications అనుకోండి మీ organization లో. If you're not able to access that application, you can simply raise it. We will troubleshoot it on work, whether you have an access to that particular or not, whether your login information has been logged out or whatever other reasons. They will troubleshoot it. And in some cases, they require more information from that applications. Okay, so generally where the users are coming from and all. So that's a different concept altogether. But here, do you have all this like configuration items are nothing but it can be your tangible or intangible components of your IT infrastructure. Tangible in the sense what I can touch, servers and everything that I can touch. But the application and software that are running on the server that I cannot touch, that comes under the, and some of the logical components will be there. Okay, so that entirely comes under the CI, that is called as a CI, configuration item. Everything, whether it's a Windows server or anything that comes, we call it as a CI. Okay, and you might have, you might have actually noticed in the incident there is a configuration item field, if you remember. So why that is used? When you're raising a request or when you're raising an incident where you're having an issue with, so you have to specify that incident configuration where exactly, whether it is application you're having an issue with, or whether it is a specific phone, IP phone, or where exactly that issue is. So you need to specify that our configuration item. You need to write the summary, and you need to specify all the other information. Okay, so that's how you will be able to the user, the technician who who assigned to that particular one, able to troubleshoot it and give you the resolution within a turnaround. Okay, so that's when. So we have a configuration item. Configuration item is a parent class for all of them. Okay, and now you have a different classes inside the configuration item, whether it is a Windows or a Linux or anything. The hierarchy will be a little different. For suppose I have base configuration item is a main one, configuration item, and I have a software, hardware. I mean, not only I'm just giving you only two examples over here, but you'll have so many others. Okay, everything will be stored in the configuration item table. Okay, and you have a softwares under that, hardwares under that. You have a hardware, you have a network gear, printer, computers. Okay, and mainframe hardware, personal computers within that. And within the server, you have a Linux server, Windows server, AXA server. All these things comes into the picture. Okay, let's say if you create an incident, whether it will be visible in the task table or not. Huh? It is visible. In the same way, whatever the child's data also visible at the configuration item level. Okay, configuration item level. So how do you navigate it to the CMDB generally? Let me open that. So how you navigate it to the incident and all, the same way you can navigate it to the respective tables as well. Let's say if I wanted to navigate it to the CMDB, I'll use CMDB.list. Yeah. CMDB.list. This is a base configuration item where generally you'll have only 40 or 50 fields, not more than that. And you have a actual fields which are called configuration item, which is CMDB underscore CR. You see, CMDB underscore CR. That is this base configuration item. And here you have a different classes as you see, whether it is a computer or not, whether you can group by a class. You'll find out what are the different classes data that you have it in the configuration item table. Okay. So like databases, data centers, databases, computers, clusters, networks, Linux and main storage devices, load balancers, everything there. సో మీరు ఇట్లా వర్క్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు జనరల్గా ఐటీ ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్లో మీరు ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ మేబీ నోటీస్ చేయండి వెన్స్ యూ గో ఇన్ టు యువర్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ దే హ్యావ్ దేర్ ఓన్ సర్వర్ రూమ్స్ వేర్ హ్యావ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ నౌ నెట్వర్కింగ్కి రౌటింగ్స్కి ప్రతి దానికి ఒక డివైస్ ఉంటుంది ఎవ్రీథింగ్ దే విల్ మేనేజ్ అండర్ వన్ డేటా సెంటర్ ఓకే సో దోస్ ఆర్ కనెక్టెడ్ టు సర్వర్స్ and how they are connected to servers that everything that will be there in this the entire network infrastructure you'll have to design it in your CMDB. Okay, each component is one table. ఓకే మీరు ఆ పోర్ట్ పెడతారు కదా లెట్స్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇప్పుడు నాకు ఇక్కడ పోర్ట్ ఉంది ఒకటి ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ దిస్ పోర్ట్ ఈస్ దేర్ దిస్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఎ పోర్ట్ ఓకే దిస్ వైర్ ఈస్ దేర్ దిస్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఎ కేబుల్ దట్ ఈస్ కనెక్టెడ్ టు మై దిస్ టీవీ లైక్ టెలివిజన్ సో హియర్ విత్ ఇన్ యువర్ సర్వర్ వన్ ఎన్ని పోర్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఆ పోర్ట్లో ఎన్ని కేబుల్స్ కనెక్ట్ అయ్యాయి కూడా ఎవ్రీథింగ్ యూ కెన్ డిఫైన్ ఇట్ అండర్ ద CMDB. So that's how you'll be able to. Each port with any logical interfaces ఉన్నాయి, any logical connections ఉన్నాయి, any logical applications that are running on top of it. So everything will be there. So మనకు చూస్తే ఏంటంటే application somewhere we're accessing the ServiceNow application. That means it has to be hosted on some software and it uses some database. Okay, it uses some database and it has to be hosted on some server. Okay, and the server has some ports and what are the different active ports that ServiceNow uses. So all these things comes into the picture. మనం ఒక అప్లికేషన్ చూసిన తర్వాత ఇది ఒక్కటే కాదు మనకు కావాల్సింది అప్లికేషన్ వాట్ ఈస్ రన్నింగ్ ఇన్ ద బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కూడా వీ హ్యావ్ టు నో then only we will be able to build the accurate CMDB that will help us to define or sorry deliver a service to respective whether it is ITSM processor, whether it is HRSD, that is your CSM, anything that you can deliver with at most resolution. So you can give the you can do that. If your inventory is nothing but your CMDB is accurate. So you have to maintain that data also. You have to bring in the data. You have to populate the CMDB. You have to maintain that. You have to maintain the relationships. So how do you maintain? That is also you'll have to, we will check. But unfortunately, as I told you before, I have a call right now, 10:30 to 11. We'll continue after 11 o'clock. Is that okay? So we'll continue. Just try checking for the CMDB part and let me know in case if you have any questions. We'll continue after 11 or something. Okay. Bye. Yeah, Shivani. Yeah. I'm going to join. Give me like 2 minutes or something.